be with us without the inspiration from the high. I'm not used to this microphone, so let's see if I behave well here. Let's read first this statement from one of the greatest scientists of this modern era, Albert Einstein, that has to do with this energy, with the will, how much we put our will to work for us. He says, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else than energy. Everything, from here, from the subatomic level, biological level, to the universe, to the multi-universe, if we wish. Match the frequency of the reality you want. So I need to know what I want. Do we know what we want to achieve, to accomplish? Or we just praying for God, praying for the third party to do for us? But it says, match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. It's the physics of energy. Okay. So the first question, I put it here. I may come back to the same question, so think about. What is important in the successful achievement of your goal? Any goal. Well, I wish. It's like a resolution. We are still in the second month of the year, so we still have our resolution for this 2020 year very fresh in our mind. Can be diet, can be make more money, can organize my life, can clean my house, my closet, whatever small thing could be, is a resolution. I always start, in my point of view, more or less with some thoughts. Some thoughts. Wow, I should do that, or I saw something that triggered that thought. Then, if that thought comes twice, 3 times, it becomes an intention. I said, oh, I wish I could do that. I intend to do that. But that is not enough. We have to have really a will to do that. And that is the point when the Spirit's book says our will is not that strong as we think. And then once our will is really put it on, we have to put in actions. But we need to have direction. Because I can have a will, a good intent, but if I put my GPS in the wrong direction, I may end up in a different place, although everything before was good. So the target, actually, the actions and the directions are fundamentally the end point. But we can stop and make a mess in any point here, and then we say, well, I failed. That is the 3rd time I'm trying, and I failed. So I want you to think about in what part you're more vulnerable to fail. Is the thought that is not there? Is the intention that is not clearly conscious? The will? Or you kind of messing up the direction, put something before the other thing so it doesn't get a very positive, successful endpoint. So you see here is a picture of a neuron, which we have billions inside our brain. It has many dots, many connections with the other neurons. And they fire a lot of electricity, literally electricity, which is called action potentials, and then that will trigger the release of some neurochemicals, which we know, dopamine is good, serotonin is good, but noradrenaline probably, if it's too much, is not good. All those neurochemicals. So let's see, this guy is a scientist, but works in the clinics. That's how science is getting to define and to search and research about those before seen as virtual, untangible feelings, markers, like intention. He says intention is defined from the scientific point of view, okay, in our days, is defined as a directed thought to perform a determined action. So comes from the thought and then put forward in action. Thoughts, objects, and practically all living things from unicellular organisms to human beings also like, I think it's kind of mixed up. It says that is all those unicellulars to all big guys has what we call light, photons. And in the biological system, we say biophotons, which is the mechanism through which the intention is stored, some kind of intention is stored in the cell. So our DNA has a spot which store these photons, and they emit the photons too. That becomes intention, thought and intention. When the organism is sick, changes in biophotons manifest itself as an electric and magnetic energy, producing an ordered, highly or changing molecular order of the matters. I think when we fix this, got mixed up. But anyway, what it says that when we get sick, so we get out from the healthy mode, we change this biophotons emission from the cells, and that the whole thing changes the matter, changes the tissue, changes how the cells fire to each other, communicate to each other. And so there is a parallel between sickness, which we say, well, I'm sick, and what is going on intracellularly, cellularly. And this through these photons, light. So biophotons are photons of light in the ultraviolet, so UV and low visible light range. So it's in the low level that are produced by biological systems. So it's just to say, instead of say just photons, we say biophotons. There is some certain type of frequency. But you see, the whole planet Earth, and I'm sure is occurring in all planets, all stars, there is this magnetic field, electromagnetic field that we are immersed in. And of course, the highest of this magnetic field produced by human body is the heart. The heart has the strongest waves of electromagnet that can be detected by very simple machine from far from the real heart, from the outside body. If you see the distance, is almost the size of one human being. Even at this distance, I am interacting with you. Look at that, because my wave interacts with your wave. So strong it is. And so the brain too, but is weaker. The brain is weaker than the heart because the heart is in synchrony. When it has a beat, many cells beat at the same time. It's a big energy. So the scientist says, living beings are mutually synchronized, and to the earth too. And it's constant change in magnetic energy, in constant change in magnetic energy. It has been shown that the energy of thought can also alter the environment. Look also the hypnosis and placebo effect. Everybody accepts the power of hypnosis, which is a kind of induction. The ones that are trained to hypnotize, they induce that state to the patient. And so the placebo effect. If I tell the patient, this is the best drug, it's a brand new drug that will work on you, 30% of the people will be better, although it's a sugar pill. So it's an induction of this change in consciousness. Cases of spontaneous cures or remote healing of extremely ill patients represent instances of an exceedingly great intention to control diseases menacing our lives. The intention to heal, as well as the beliefs of the sick person on the efficacy of the healing influence, promote their healing. So it is important to really, we have the wanting. I want to be healed. So the drug can make much more, be more efficacious, or the treatment. But be careful, they say. That is, instead placebo, that is what we call nocebo, or low expectation effects. If I decide to believe that that drug is not going to work, that that treatment is not going to be for me, certainly it won't work. There is a 30% or more chance that it won't work. It will work for the others, but it won't work for me. So this is very serious, he says. This group from the Munich, Germany, it was a very big review. And they said that is not only does the nocebo effect exist, but it is surprisingly common. Surprisingly common. So if you decide that you are a cancerous patient, you will have more chance to die than a person that says, I have a cancer. Have, you cannot have if with the treatment. But if you define yourself as a sick person, it's different from, oh, I have a cold, than to say, I am a sick person. It's a negative thing. So the verdict that he gives is, if you believe a treatment won't help for you, it probably won't, and vice versa. So it's the power of imagination, suggestion, that works in the hypnosis, placebo effect, nocebo effect, is the suggestion. Okay, so now I go to what is the topic of this talk, and this mainly I brought from this book, which is not in English yet. It's by Leon Denis, The Problem of the Being, of the Destiny, and of the Pain. I think in the third part of this book, he talks about a lot of potentials of the soul. And one of the most important potentials of the soul is the will. It's almost a giving grace from who created us, that if we want, we can use that will and we can do wonders. That's what Leon Denis writes about. Let's see who was Leon Denis. He was younger than Kardec, as you see, 1846. But by the time Kardec published the Spirit's book, he was a young guy, philosopher. And he was a notable Spiritist philosopher, and with Gabriel Delanne, which was electric engineer, and Camille Flammarion, the astronomer of his time, became one of the principal exponents of Spiritism after the death of Allan Kardec. They said that if Allan Kardec would have failed in his mission, in the codification, most like one of these three people, and Leon Denis was the first to get the job. It was a substitute in the Spirit's mind, plan. But look at what the Spiritist book says about the will. Question 909. Could man always, by his efforts, overcome his bad tendencies? Tendencies, I mean, it can be like weak will, impatience, laziness, being a mess, not to be well directed, many things, bad tendencies that we bring from past lives. He says, yes, we can really overcome, and often making very insignificant effort. That drove me a little crazy because I felt that's not fair. It's difficult too, but he says, making very insignificant effort. That's what the Spirit said. Insignificant effort. What he likes, the person, is the will. And how few of you make this effort. Pulling our ear, saying, and you don't do that. We know you don't do that. You could do that, but you don't. Okay. So what the book says, in the first part of the book, he says, the first part of the book led us to glimpse the powerful network of forces, energies hidden within us, from the intracellular, intratomic level to, the organs, the whole body, our aura, etc. It has shown us that our entire future in its unlimited development is contained within the germ. The causes of happiness are not in certain places in space. They are in us. The causes are within us of our happiness, or unhappiness, of course. In the mysterious death of the soul, which is confirmed by all the great doctrines. It's not only Spiritist Christianity that says that. All the Eastern philosophies, they say that. It's within us, in our reach. We spend our lives on trivial, useless things. We have walked the path of our existence without knowing ourselves, the psychic riches, the values of which would give us innumerable joys. How come if we have all this thing, we still trying to be unhappy? We still decide not to use all this power. What is going on with us? What is wrong with us? He says, there are in every human soul two centers, two spheres of action and expression. One of them, the exterior, manifests our personality, the I, the ego, with its passions, its weakness, its mobility, its insufficiency. As long as this one is the regulator of our course, we will have an inferior life full of trials and evils. It is tough. So we are wasting or giving too much power to the ego, to the external. And we letting the external to rule our life. Is this true, or you think that he is exaggerating? How much we are worried about the opinion of the outsiders, that even they don't know us. How much we want to match to their expectation, fashion, hairstyle, how we talk, language, etc. Why are we so worried about the others and forget to be ourselves? And say, especially in teenage and college, today I was listening, it is so difficult. We want to match to the group. We want the others to give us the value, to define us. The other, which is the other sphere, which is the inner deep, unchanging, is at the same time the seat of conscience, the source of spiritual life, the temple of God in us. It is only when this center of action dominates the other, the ego, when its impulses direct us, is that our hidden powers reveal themselves, and that the spirit asserts itself in its brightness and beauty. It seems so beautiful, isn't it, if we follow that? But by what means can we put our inner powers in motion and direct them towards the higher ideal? It's the will. We have to change the will, the strength, the intensity, and also the direction of the will. The persistent, tenacious use of this sovereign faculty, which is he's talking about the will, enables us to change our nature, to overcome all obstacles, to master matter, disease, and death. How many, in the Eastern countries, societies, they practice more this, of to overcome matter, to overcome disease by the strength of our will, you know, Sai Baba, all these big Hindu masters, you know, monks. It is by will that we direct our thoughts to a particular target. In most men and women, thoughts fluctuate endlessly. Its constant mobility and infinite variety only offer limited access to higher influence. So that means we are wandering around. Our thoughts, our energy has been spread in all different frequencies. Everywhere we change our mind is a mess. So there is no force. There is no that monochromatic being to have the force. So I put an example of the laser beam. Everybody knows the power of the laser beam, how important and how useful the power of a laser beam is in many places like surgery, technology, spectroscopy, many machines. NASA uses a lot, the laser printer, all these things. But why laser is so powerful compared to, they say, the other LED light? The LED light has to be a more diffuse. The usefulness is based also in this diffuse, different frequency. Look at that. Because laser light is coherent, it seems kind of, oh, are you coherent? But this is a physics parameter. Yeah, you are incoherent. You're not saying one-to-one, you know. But physics says also uses the same word, coherent and incoherent. So coherent, when you see that you have not only one given frequency is monochromatic, but they all synchronize. So there is a power in the peak. While this other light, you see, not only the frequencies are different, but they are spread all over the place in time. They are not resonating. They're not synchronized. That's how the power of the laser beam comes. It can do wonders, pointy surgery, etc. The same, you know, who does this kind of sport, they know if each one of these sportmen decided to do one move different from the other and not follow the commander that is saying, you know, now I don't know what kind of word they say, they won't go forward in this. They have to follow a command and has to be very precise in order to win the game. Otherwise, it won't move. So it's the same example. This woman, he became very, very famous. I don't know if people know, in the, I think it was the Los Angeles Olympics. She was the first time that the women marathon was allowed in the Olympic game. So let's see how her story. Gabriela Anderson Chase was a ski instructor in the US state of Idaho. When she represented Switzerland at the 1884 Olympics in Los Angeles. 20 minutes after the winner, Joan Benoit, crossed the finish line, the 39-year-old Gabriela staggered into the stadium. She appeared in the stage, and you have to do the whole round there. Suffering from heat prostration. Her right leg was stiff. Her left arm was hanging limply at her side. While spectators gasped in horror, doctors noted that she was perspiring, a good sign, and they let her continue. So they were around her, but they could not touch her, otherwise she would be declassified. For 5 minutes and 45 seconds, she lurched along the final lap around the track, occasionally stopping and holding her head. Finally, she fell across the finish line and into the arms of waiting medics under the Suez place 37 place. People that saw this event, they were already, the TV was already broadcast other type of events, but suddenly that stadium, it was in a big, big, big noise. And they want to know what was going on. And all the TV stations switched to this stadium to follow this lady. That first place lady is not even known, probably. Sorry even to tell, but she was the star because of her will. She said, don't touch me. I have to go. I will go. So they stay around her. She made the history, right? Gandhi said, strength does not come from physical capacity. She had no capacity anymore to even walk. It comes from indomitable will. That's what she had. The will is the greatest of all powers. It is in its action comparable to a magnet. It is a magnet, really. It causes an electromagnetic field and changes other electromagnetic field. The will to live, to develop life in us, attract us new vital resources. Such is the secret of the law of evolution. So we have to learn how to attract these vital resources that are all available to us. It's available to us. I'm saying this, but I don't know also how to use it. The will can act intensely on the fluidic body. We all know that. Activate its vibration and thereby appropriate it to an ever higher mode of sensation, prepare it to a higher degree of existence. That Japanese scientists that changed the quality, the beauty of the water molecules by the intention, by the thought, was a beautiful crystals as compared to an amorphous or bad shape of this water when the thoughts were negative. High spirits see and hear each other's thoughts. So they can hear our thoughts. But why can't we? They say, while ours are often in disagreement and confusion. Because we are one day, 1 hour, 30 seconds later, 5 seconds, we are all confused. Our thoughts are not synchronized. Let us learn then to use our will and through it to unite our thoughts with all that is great. with the universal harmony whose vibration fill the space and cradle the world. So we have to connect to the high, all this field of energy, and search for the highest one. This is another case where the will makes a big news. Roger Bannister in 1954. He was in 2 Olympics. He worked, tried to break this 4-minute barrier for 1 mile. In 1940, it was not Olympics, it was another competition. He actually succeeded. It was 3 minutes and 59 seconds. Guess what? But 50-something minutes later, he broke his own record. And we hear this in the Olympics, in gymnastics. Once one do, many start to do the same. Triple, axel, all these things. Why these 14 years or many years of not accomplishing? And suddenly everybody starts. So suddenly everyone was able to do it, proving an important lesson. Once you stop believing something is impossible, it becomes possible. I always want, if I know that person got it, that I know is one step forward for me. Because if that person got it, I know I can. But how about if we are the first to prove that it's possible, right? So your negative beliefs are powerful. If you believe something is impossible, that belief will erode your confidence, will destroy your confidence, and turn that impossible belief into self-fulfilling prophecy. Can you believe my whole existence be so prophetic? And because in one time before I decided that that was impossible for me, or somebody said that was impossible for me. Some neighbor, father, mother, old sister, whatever. It's terrible, isn't it? But positive beliefs are even more powerful. If you believe you can and will do something, you will find the means to make it happen. Imagine how the world would be if John Kennedy believed that it was impossible to put a man in the moon. You have to believe, imagine. Today we know it can go, but you never put it there. How could you think you could put a person in the moon? You know? What if Martin Luther King Jr. had believed that it was impossible to achieve civil rights in the United States? In that time, it was difficult. Mahatma Gandhi had believed that it was impossible to overthrow British occupation in India without violence. Wow, it was. It was almost something impossible. Barack Obama, first American president, was almost an impossible task at that time. But somehow they believed. The will can act in both sleep and wakefulness. That's good, because the brave soul who has set goal for itself seeks it tenaciously at both stages of life, and thus determines the powerful current that slowly and silently undermines all obstacles. So let's go to sleep with the good intention to put forward what we think is possible for us. Slowly. Let's not get disappointed, frustrated because it didn't work next day. It works slowly through the obstacles. If man knew the extent of the resource that sprout in him, he might be dazzled instead of thinking himself as a weak and fearing the future. He would understand his strength, feel that he himself can create that future. How many people, because of anxiety, fearing that, oh, I'm not going to get it. Something's going to happen. I cannot, then you are already defeated. You are already defeated. Each soul is a focus of vibration that the will sets in motion. We have this vibration, can be wandered around, but if we put a will, it will be in a monochromatic, synchronized, coherent wave. A society is a grouping of wills that, when they are united, concentrating the same aim, constitute the center of irresistible forces. Through education and the exercise of will, certain people arrive at results that seem like wonders. Look at that. They can do how they can levitate, So in the Eastern society, they've been practicing, of course, because they believe in this power. The Hindu will have enough willpower to hold an arm up until he atrophies it. Another will lie down on a spiked iron bed with no pain. This power is even found in people who had not practiced the Hatha Yoga. One man got a bullet in the thigh, refused to submit to the chloroform anesthetic for the projectile extraction, and he says that he will be motionless there throughout the procedure. And he did. In the old time, who could use that power, they were better off. They didn't need to have a powerful alcohol, whiskey, whatever. In our Western movie shows that. Oh, take some whiskey and then you can. So one thing is power. The power of will is unlimited. Look at that. Man, conscious of himself, of its latent resources, feels his strength grow as a result of his effort. He knows that whatever well or good he wishes, sooner or later, inevitably will happen, either presently or in a series of his existence. When his thought is put forward in accordance with divine law. And this is where the heavenly word goes. Faith transports mountains. So as a society, if we can put two or more people together to synchronize in one target, one process or project, how much we can accomplish, right? Thomas Edison, I always bring his story because his story is the one that the scientists usually likes, because we tend to do 3 or 4 times repetition and we give up. He did more than almost 1,000 times check to develop his lamp. Either the filament was not correct, the bulb is not correct, so finally he succeeded. So our greatest weakness lies in giving up, he says. We give up too early on people, on projects, on aims. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. He said, well, the 999 times, I know it won't work, but the next may work, right? So he's forward. But this story, I didn't know about him. One day, Thomas Edison, as a little child, came home and gave a paper to his mother. He told her, my teacher gave this paper to me and told me to only give it to my mother. His mother's eyes were cheerful, and she read the letter out loud to her child. Your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and doesn't have enough good teachers for training him. Please teach him yourself. Okay. Many, many years after, Edison's mother died, and he was now one of the greatest inventors of the century. One day, he was looking through old family things. Suddenly, he saw a folded paper in the corner of the drawer in the desk. He took it and opened it. On the paper was written, "Your son is an adult, mentally ill. We won't let him come to school anymore." Edison cried for hours, and then he wrote in his diary, "Thomas Alva Edison was an adult child that by a hero mother became the genius of the century." So there was someone that believed on him, worked for him towards this will. We hope to find, if it's not our teacher, a neighbor, we always have beautiful stories about someone saving that person, that child, that everybody said that hopeless, no future. You're meant to be a criminal. And someone believed otherwise. So now comes the question for us to think about. So successful achievement of any goal is a continuous process. We can decide to go around, to break the barrier, to make a hole, to jump, whatever ways we think it will seem more successful. So my question is, during the question session, if nobody has other question, what step is the hardest roadblock to your success? Where you think you are failing most of the time? Unfocused thought? Your thought quality is not that, wandering around, wasting in other thoughts that is not productive? Lack of intention? We can stop, just thought. Oh, I thought about, but you never had the intention to do so. Weak will, like the Spirit say, well, your will is very weak. You don't apply that in your everyday business. To set directions? I don't know well how to put it. I go wandering wrong direction. Suddenly I see that thing didn't work for me, work for the other. But why didn't work for you, work for the other? Probably you didn't went thoroughly all what you are, your lifestyle, to see, oh, I should copy other one. No, it doesn't work like this. It has to be for us, matched to our, what we are, to take actions. We went, we know the direction, but it was difficult. Came all this stuff, all the problem. I had to go this. I didn't realize I had to go to work in another state or whatever. But Jesus said something warning us there is one part that is ours. We have to do it. We can ask help to the incarnated friends, to the discarnated mentors, to Jesus, to God. But if we don't do our part, they won't come to help. They say, ask, and it will be given to you. So I have to ask. In order to ask, I have to formulate well what I'm asking. Seek, and you will find. So I have to start to move, knock, and the door will be open. So it needs our contribution first, and then the things comes. We have to set the first motion. This is Matthew 7, verses 7. Okay, so finished. Thank you.
This is the moment that we ask questions. Thank you, Yasco, by the way. Make comments. Who would like to go first?
Mine's kind of a comment. It's a great talk, Yasco. I really enjoyed it, loved it. It's very insightful and thought-provoking. And I liked the last question that you left us with. Yeah, what step is the hardest roadblock to your success? And we were thinking about that, and at least for myself and perhaps for others as well, it's sort of maybe the hardest issue is deciding what is the true measure of success and what is the true definition of success, and what would you say it is? Because for some people, and for everyone, it's different, right? Mm-hmm. So like, what is right, what is wrong?
Yeah, it doesn't need to be that philosophical. That it can be a little thing that you wish to do, to accomplish, like your resolution for the New Year's. We all have many resolutions. The tiniest one, well, I wish I could, be more friendly, or that, I wish my workplace would be this and that, or I wish that. So higher level of wishes is better. Of course, that will involve not only your inner growth, but the others around you to feel better around you, around us. So it matters only to each one of us. That's what we say. It doesn't matter the others. We are paying attention too much to what the other think. Probably the other one has other interests, other success parameters, which is not mine. Well, to be rich, to have money, no, it's not mine. How come? Many have. Or to have a great family. Perhaps many wish to have a great family, especially if one member or two members are fighting. And you have to be the judge there, So it all depends on us. It's a question, intimate question that we have to make. Matters only to us. And only to others, if might change how much we will impact the others. Usually when we wish something, it's because the others will have a positive impact. We won't wish to have bad things, of course. That's what I feel.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Daniel.
Great talk, Yasco. Thank you. What would be your advice for, since you did put a lot of study on this talk, when people has a lot of will to do things just to look good for the society, or expecting be recognized by others?
Well, like you said, you've been driven. There is two spheres, like they said here. Spheres of work. Here. You see, in every human soul, there's two centers of action and expression. One that is driven by this exterior, which you said. I'm worried about my appearance, my ego, I, and what people think about this. While I only have this and did not build the inner me, I will be in very big danger. Because first of all, you cannot trust the outside, because they may even lie to you just to make you feel defeated. How many people don't wish good for us? Put a little leg for you to stumble. So I think it's very, 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 dangerous and unstable state of happiness if you only searching for that. From that I, the ego, to fulfill my ego. But if you say, well, why I want to be presented in a good way, I wanted to be a pleasant person, not just to make money, but because by doing so, I'm creating a level of inner transformation, not only on me, because now things that was well thought, almost consciously, now became, as I repeat, that my behavior becomes an automated behavior. So I don't need anymore to be dressing in fashion in order to people to feel good around me. And I don't even need anymore their approval. Not that I'm in an obnoxious way, but yes, because I have my inner deep, that say, I am in the correct path. That's what I feel. So it's very dangerous to do that.
Thank you. This was very inspirational. I'd like to tag into this same slide because as you were, as you were presenting this material, I was thinking about Mitt Romney this week. And I'm not sure how many people here heard his statement. And how many people...
His position, but not his statement.
Well, I mean, the position. How many people were moved, in this soul-like, faith-based way when you heard his words? I would just encourage people to YouTube it. It's very powerful to see how this man, very much in the public eye, got to this moment in his life, and it was the product of all the things that came before it. That he had the courage to stand alone in his party and make this decision. And you could see he struggled as he even spoke it, but it's so confirmed.
Emotion, yeah.
Yeah. The power of faith and the strength of identifying with your conscience and your spirit. So he will join other profiles in courage, which we'd like to see more examples of, but so amazing.
So it is really difficult to think about, put the person in the moon. But in that moment, nobody did that. He was the only voice to vote against. How difficult, unexpected was. I don't know, even his inner circle. I don't know if his family, can you believe you have to, but he said he had that strength, this inner strength, because that he had to have his conscience in peace. Not in peace, but work together with what he believed. He could not betray himself, his inner God. He could not.
Thank you, Yasco. I was wondering if Leon Denis, as an author, as Joanna De Angelis, when she brings these topics in psychology, she expresses the problem, the situation, right? And usually by the end, she gave us some tips, some didactic, like steps in whatever is the situation. I don't know, in the case of the wheel, we saw that you gave us some steps about the thought, etc., but specifically about the will, since the spirits already say we are weak in will, how can we strengthen that will? I don't know if Leon Denis touched that.
In this chapter, because I practically translated this chapter, the whole, just left outside a little bit. He doesn't say, but it is pretty much now, his time, I don't know, but nowadays, there's so much material. If you go to Google, how to strengthen your will, how to accomplish your wishes, there is so much material. Why you jeopardize your intention, your project, from the diet to, yoga, exercise. Why you bringing excuses. And it's so easy. We are very rational, intelligent beings. To get this excuse that is very okay is easy. So we have to be very honest to ourselves. When I was very young, my teacher in the university, and he was a very good advocate for exercise, sport, swimming. For some reason, I said, well, I am very afraid of swimming. He said, that cannot continue like this. You have to learn at least the basics, not to be afraid to be around, for instance, a swimming pool. There is a party, a gathering, and you're going to be like this, afraid, because you don't know the basics to survive in a swimming pool. You should go to the class. It was in the medical school. There was a great guy, a Japanese philosopher teacher. What time is the class? 6 in São Paulo. Oh, okay, 6 o'clock. I said, well, it's too early. I said, well, you can bring right now 20 reasons not to come at 6 o'clock. And I will accept all of them. It all depends if it's enough for you. Okay. Was not enough for me, so I went there to work, to have the swimming lessons. So it's all, I learned. Then of course, I stopped, and then my fear reappeared again. But I used to swim 2,000 meters easily. Yeah, but then I stopped. And when you stop, is more difficult. So that's it. I think you have to have the will. And be honest to ourselves. Because we can find many excuses, guys. We are very intelligent beings. Very intelligent.
Yes, can you put on that last... huh? I'm trying to stay away from the camera.
What?
The last one. One of the things that I would like to comment on, and I think it goes right with what Alba asked, is the... I'll wait until it gets there. There. One more. Yes. The unfocused thoughts right here. One of the things that I've been trying in reading, the work that we did in Thought and Life. Now, we work with plenitude, and now we're in this, studying this transition, and always trying to get to understand the higher minds, how they work. And I think one of the things that I get, and I go through this a lot at work because being needed in several occasions, is the noise that we have, right, in our lives. And it's natural. We're human beings. I think we are being trained that someday in our lives, in the future, we'll be able to multitask more effectively. But in between whatever we are doing, we are focused on the noise more than we're supposed to, because we're supposed to focus on what's happening. We ask a mother, they're doing something, but they're looking at the child as well. So you have to develop that. But it gets to a point that the noise, there are certain noise that you should be able to shut off and do whatever you're supposed to do and focus. And on beyond that, one of the things that I also, and this is analyzing myself, is how we use that as an excuse. Instead of saying, no, these are just noises. I'm capable enough, intelligent enough that I can turn this off for right now, and I have to get this task done. But what I notice is this idea that we use as an excuse. It becomes some kind of way. It's the escape mechanism to say, oh, I was being, I have this problem. I have all the excuses that we come up with. Now, one of the things that I try to do, and this is personally, when I'm asking myself about the will, what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, are the consequences. Either what's going to happen if I don't do that task, and what's going to be left undone. And I think this is obviously what we get from Spiritism as well. That gauges, okay, am I doing what I'm supposed to do? So I think that at least it works for me, and I think that's something that Alba was actually trying to get to it as well. But noise is
Well, about this be shut down to the noise, the Eastern people, they know better to do that. In the Japanese society, I always tell people when they are too nosy, trying to pay attention what's going on in the other side of the room. I said, look, the Japanese society, old Japanese society, probably today too, the house's space is very small. What there is during the day, a sitting room becomes at night a bedroom. In the old times, there was no wood enough, so the walls were screened, made by rice paper, that paper that is fogged. So not only you could see beyond a little bit things moving, but also here. So imagine a couple, the other side, making noise. You're not supposed to wonder what's going on to the other side with your parents, with your siblings. No, you have to shut down. This is an education, and this is part what, if you don't have that skill, means you are uneducated, really, gross uneducated. Because you're supposed to shut down your mind and not be nosy. So I think the same thing we can do. We pay attention because in part we were trained to pay attention. Oh, what's going on there? What kind of gossip is that? Since we were a child. But now it's damaging our life. So now we have to go back. Say, look, I don't care what's going on there. It doesn't matter anymore. I have to focus on me. That's a training. Second, about the will, I think we go, of course, we are in this planet imperfect. We go back and forth, we fail and go. But for sure, like you said, once we failed, we knew for many failures what was the consequence. Not only the job not done, but how I felt frustrated, how I felt, hopeless or not a complete person for that task. So next time you have to consciously figure out if the will be there, and what was, if it is the direction that you put forward that was not correct, if it was the actions you took timely, different, not so appropriate, people enter in your life that, you probably could expect that your child would need some vacation with you during, so you're not going to plan to do something during their vacation time because you know that they're going to ask for your presence, something like that. So I think we learn with the failure because it's painful. If it wasn't painful, you would stay forever, like many people stay, I don't care, something like that. But when you start to be bothered, you are in the good path.
Hope.
Right? It's how the teenagers, they feel it's so many things to do, but then they got frustrated so easily because they did not do the correct background check in order to say, look, I may fail here, my colleague can, step in or whatever, so.
Paula?
This will be quick just because I, generate thoughts when I listen to you all. Relative to this trying ability to pick yourself up and go at it again, we learned in child psychology how to talk to young children. So instead of just emphasizing the end product, oh, you got all those answers correct, what we encouraged the parents to do was to recognize the effort. I really like the way you kept trying, even when it was difficult for you. So we can still do that with each other as grown-ups. It's called encouragement language, and it really does help us to focus on this willpower and strengthen it.
That's perfect. You see, when this professor that was my swimming professor, he said, don't use the other one that accomplished already what you're trying to be just your reference. Because you may never get to what he got, because he had other skills, etc. But it's only positive because you say, well, you see, this guy made an effort to get there. So if I make an effort, I may make 70%. The other thing he said, your reference should be the most important one. What you accomplished that day of swimming, did you do instead only two stroke? You did 5 in I don't know how many minutes. But you did a jump. For you, that was an important jump. And he was pointing to a lady, our friend, that he had paralysis, how you call, leg paralysis, whatever. Paralysis infantile, how you call that? Huh? Paralysis, anyway. Handicap, but you know, she kept her life very, very, very normal situation because she had to work, although she was from a very wealthy family. But in the swimming, she didn't have strength in her legs, but here she had a very good strength. And he said, look, she can do wonders with that. She didn't put her mind in the weakness. Cecilia can do all those jumps, all those, dancing, whatever, because she can fluctuate very easily. So she put all this talent that she had to accomplish in the swimming.
Thank you again, Yasco. So at this point, we would like to hold any more questions, any more comments to the end. We'll be here a little bit longer, but I would like to, Daniel, can you call Kirsten so we can move on to our passes? And as